Cool.
There we go. All right. Recording in progress. Let me see. Do I have to do something here by saying, okay. Perfect.
We're good.
Got it. Okay. Everybody, this is Alex Feinberg. And I first met Alex as a freshman at Miramonte High School. And what year was that as a freshman?
That would have been 2001.
2001. So an interesting story. He goes to tryouts. You were not a big guy. 5'5", 5'6"?
No, I was like 5'9". So small. Everybody else on the team was like 6'1", 6'2". So just
they're all big kids. The reason why we kept you was John Whitman. John Whitman comes up to me and says, that guy, he's going to be good. You have to look at where he's going to be. And you've got, and his big bellowing voice. And look how hard he works. His work ethic is off the charts. His mechanics are great. He's just not fast yet. And he's not strong yet. But this guy is going to be special. 3 years later, you do extremely well at Miramonte, and then you take your talents, so to speak, to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Where you were one of the first classes for Coach Corbin, and you were one of the guys that they kind of made an example of, saying we can get really smart guys who can really play baseball at a high level and do both. A true student athlete, and you excelled there. And then you thought to yourself, well, why not? You had the temerity to think you could play professional baseball, and went on for 2 more years and played pro ball.
That's
So
right.
the life lessons that you learned, not just from school, but even more importantly, playing at Vanderbilt under huge crowds and then playing professional baseball, has really allowed you to be very successful in the real world. And that's why we've got you on here. You're a great example. I had a blast this summer having you out there for 4 or 5 days in Texas and Louisiana. The life lessons that you gave, the speech that you gave, was as good as I've seen in 30 years. So you're kind of the first guy, the inaugural guy to do this for our mentoring class. We've got about 25 to 30 guys that we'll be working with. And I thought in no way could we ever top what this first one's going to be, but it's a great way to start.
Absolutely. So, well, thanks, Rob. I think before we get started, it probably would help to share the anchor play that Rob was mentioning for, what Coach Corbin at Vanderbilt liked about me as a player, before I get into, all the really, really meaningful lessons that I was fortunate enough to learn as a baseball player. So let me share my screen real quick. We'll go here and we'll share this. And so we'll start this right here. This is April 5th, 2005 or 2008. I was hitting 400, second in the SEC, and hitting my senior year, facing Lance Lynn, who was a first-round draft pick, present major leaguer, and he nailed me with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball right to the jaw. I didn't know that it hit me in the jaw right when it happened, obviously, because anytime a ball hits you in the face, you're a little bit stunned. But what I ended up doing was I bent over. I assumed I'd be spitting out some teeth. No teeth came out, so I thought I was okay. I actually went to first base. And it wasn't until my trainer informed me that I was in no condition to resume playing baseball that they yanked me from the game, sent me to Vanderbilt's hospital, Vanderbilt Medical Center, where I had emergency surgery later that night to wire my jaw shut for the next 6 weeks. I actually made it back into the lineup 6 days later, playing against Mississippi State. And that was something that I prided myself on as a player, was always being competitive, never letting anything take me out of the game. As a sophomore, a couple years before then, I dislocated my shoulder in the SEC tournament, diving headfirst into home, which is something that you guys should never do, but I did it. And I was playing the next day against South Carolina, also against a guy named James Darnell, who was a NorCal guy. But enough of that. Thought we could get into what Rob was mentioning for the many, many lessons that I got as a baseball player. So growing up, like many of you guys, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. That was my singular focus from the age of about 14 onwards through the end of my professional baseball career, was what do I need to do to be a Major League Baseball player? Let me set my sights high and work backwards from there. The number one thing that separated me, as Rob alluded to, as a freshman and as a sophomore, wasn't my size, it wasn't my strength. I was, in fact, the smallest guy on that freshman team. And I went to the tryout thinking that there was probably a 50-50 chance that I'd make the team. I knew that I was playing with studs. I knew that they were faster than me. I knew that we had guys on the team running 6'6", 6'7", 60s, and I knew I was not one of them. But I just thought that if I could be a part of the NorCal baseball program, that my own game would be elevated from being around elite players. And I wasn't concerned about getting maximal playing time and showing how good I was relative to everybody else, at least in the start. I was just worried about making the team. And I think, over my, let's say, 10 years in elite baseball, 4 years with NorCal, 4 years at Vanderbilt, 2 years with the Colorado Rockies, the one thing that carries forward through this is my desire to be competitive, to be intensely competitive. Because as it stood as a professional athlete, I played for 2 years. I made less than $10,000 in the 2 years that I played professional baseball. So the monetary benefit that I got after getting done with school, I got a very good scholarship from Vanderbilt. So scholarship aside, the monetary value that I got from being a professional baseball player was not that high. But as I stand right now in front of you, I'm 36 years old. I run my own business. I set my own hours, and it's structured around things that I just enjoy doing from baseball, which is training, eating delicious food, and teaching everybody how to do it. And I can do it through social media because of the lessons that I learned as a competitive athlete. So the first and most important lesson that you will learn, whether you're with NorCal or whether you've graduated from high school, you're into college, or you graduated from college, you're playing professionally, is you can always do better than you are doing. And there are always people who are levels and levels above you. So if you're the type of person who will always do whatever it takes to get better at baseball specifically, you'll find that over many years, that translates into many, many things. So let's start from the beginning. As a freshman, trying out for NorCal, I had spent my entire fall in the weight room on the track, working my way from a 110-pound bench press to a 155-pound bench press at 15 years old, which is not impressive in retrospect, but that's a pretty big gain. And even after working as hard as I did for those months, I was still the weakest and probably one of the slowest guys on the team, who barely made it and only got a shot because the coach at the time liked my attitude, which was, I'll play whatever position you want me to play. I'm just going to give it 100% of what I have, and I'm going to put in all the work necessary to get there. But even at the end of my freshman year, I spent the last few games in Oklahoma tournament, USSSA, playing with NorCal. I spent those last few games on the bench. And I spent those last few games on the bench because I wasn't playing that well. And the guys who got playing time were playing better than me. So did I enter that offseason saying, oh, I'm never going to make it? I couldn't even get playing time on my high school team. How am I ever going to make it to the next level? No. I thought, what do I need to do to get to the next level, right? I was not concerned that there were multiple guys on the team who were better than me. I was concerned that there was a skill gap between where I was at 15 and where college recruits were. So in that respect, I wasn't setting my sights low. I wasn't saying, well, let me try to be an all-conference sophomore. I was saying at the age of 15 years old, what do I need to do to get recruited by colleges? And what that was is I needed to run a 60 under 7 seconds, right? And I was running a 7.7 60 when I made the NorCal team. I ran a 7.3 at the Junior Olympics in Tucson the summer of 2001, right? Not very great for a middle infielder prospect, but I never stopped competing. And so my sophomore year, I spent the entire fall and winter on the track, in the batting cage, on the field, in the gym, doing whatever I could to get stronger and faster. And by the time I got to the Junior Olympics in Tucson, Arizona in 2002, I ran a 6.8 60. And that was what put me on the map with Rob and with other coaches was, hey, this guy, he's undersized, but he works his ass off. He has good grades. He has a good glove. He makes good contact. He doesn't hit for any power, but he deserves a spot on an elite team. But did I stop after my sophomore year and say, okay, I'm on the map now. Now it's, I'm getting letters from Ivy League schools. I'm getting attention from Division I schools. Okay, put it on cruise control. No, because the goal was always to be the best player I could be. And I continued to work hard through my junior year. What I realized through my junior year, because of my desire to be competitive, was part of being competitive is not just putting yourself in a physical position to perform as well as you can, but it's also putting yourself in a mental position to perform as well as you can. There's many vectors that are required to work in sync if you want to play as well as you can to get recruited to play at the next level. And so I realized that, hey, this is a little bit nerve-wracking for me to go in front of all these coaches, go in front of all these scouts, having all of these eyes on me, tons of radar guns, everybody's wearing their scout hats with their scout leather briefcases, and I'm just playing shortstop, and I don't want to make a mistake. Oh, I just threw a ball away. Oh, I just kicked a ball. How do I recover from that? And what I realized was that coaches and scouts don't come to high school games ready to write down the names of bad players. So I realized, because of how competitive I was, I realized a mental angle that allowed me to lower the stress and anxiety that I played with. Namely, I only get credit for doing well. When you're 15, when you're 16 years old, not a single coach or scout is going to come watch you play and remember your name unless you play well. So it is the complete asymmetric upside, where you can only have good things happen to you. You can't have bad things happen to you for the most part. So just get out there and play as well as you can, and try to show off, your speed, try to show off your arm, hustle, control the things you can control, and you only get a grade if it's a good grade. Okay, so what that meant was, going into my junior summer, I started getting on the map of a lot of colleges. I got invited to the Stanford camp. I played well at the Stanford camp. I got invited to Team 1, played well at Team 1. And by the time I got to my July 1st, which is when colleges could contact players after their junior summer, during their junior summer when I was playing, I was getting calls from Georgia Tech, from Wake Forest, from Vanderbilt, from Santa Clara, from Stanford, schools that I want, Harvard, schools that I wanted to go to. And so then I ended up playing a different game, which was, oh, now that the eyes are on me, I actually can underperform when the spotlight's on. How do I get over this hurdle? And it wasn't easy, right? I was missing out on sleep. I wasn't sleeping great. When I went to Team 1, I think I slept like 3.5 hours before I ran my 60-yard dash. Ran a terrible 60 at Team 1. Area code tryouts, couldn't sleep the night before. Ran a 6.9, just downing Red Bull in 100-degree heat in Fresno, because the anxiety was just getting to me. And I had to put myself in a position to play under pressure, otherwise the pressure was going to break me. And the only thing that kept me putting myself in a position to succeed was a belief that I had a duty to myself to compete as hard as I could and take every opportunity I could to play well. So by the time I got to area codes my junior summer, I was getting calls from Stanford, getting calls to Vanderbilt. It was basically down to those two schools. And this was before Vanderbilt was an elite program where they could recruit everybody they wanted. So, they had to go after guys like me at the time. And in front of, say, 500 college and pro scouts at area codes, I'm surrounded by guys who are in the major leagues now. Phil Hughes, Matt Bush, Lucas Duda, a number of guys who got drafted high but never ultimately made it. And I was the last guy on that team. I legitimately did not make the area code teams until I got a call about 5 days before area codes. Hey, Alex, second baseman, LJ Davis, broke his leg. Can you make it down to Long Beach next week? It was in Long Beach at the time. I said, hell yeah. Let me just call one of my teammates. Call up DJ Butler, go right down with him. So I got a call 5 days before area code saying, hey, we got the last slot on the team. It's an afterthought, but you can have it if you want to. So I thought, this is great. This is my opportunity to put myself on the map. I wasn't trying to run the clock out with like 10 games left to play in front of coaches, college coaches, before I would make my commitment. I said, okay, this is a chance that I have to compete at the highest level. You want to compete at the highest level? Here's your shot, buddy. Go compete at the highest level. I ended up hitting 400 with a wood bat at area codes. And by the time the tournament ended, everybody was going home, but there was one last game, right? One last game where I could have just taken a knee and said, hey, peace out, gotta roll out. But there was one last game that a bunch of college coaches and scouts were still going to, and I had the duty to myself to go run a good 60, ran a 60 after the tournament. And I ran the second fastest 60 on my area code team. And so this is from a guy who ran a 7.360 as a freshman. By the time I was running in area codes, at the end of the tournament, when everybody was tired, I ran a 6.81, right? Faster than Matt Bush, who was the #1 pick of the draft as a shortstop that the next year. #1 lesson, never stop competing. When I ultimately committed to Vanderbilt, the reason why I went to Vanderbilt was I loved the vibe. I loved going to their practices and seeing that the whole thing was a competition. All they did was see who could run faster, see who could, essentially work harder in practice to better themselves as a player. And because I was very drawn to hardworking individuals and hardworking environments, I thought, this Vandy place is a place for me. I get to go play in the SEC. I get to go play in front of the toughest crowds in college. If I want to be the best player I can be, I need to put myself in this environment. That's where everything changed, right? You go from being one of the best players on your high school team, whether it's NorCal or whether it's your varsity program. You go to college, nobody as a freshman is that good. And I don't care if you're a first-round draft pick or turn down millions of dollars to go to school. You're not as good as the guys who had starting time over the last couple of years. You may have better athleticism than them, but your skills as a baseball player will not be at the college level your first day you step on campus. And Coach Corbin, to his credit, lit a fire under everybody's ass, basically convincing everybody that everything they did wasn't good enough and could always be done better. And I would say that's the one thing that I took from all of these practices is saying, you know what? You can always get more out of yourself. It may not be in a conventional way. It may not even be from working harder. It may be from being more creative in the way that you work hard. But the way he coached us was that that's not good enough. That's not good enough. I want to see you compete. Well, guess what? Vanderbilt's not a bad school. And as I progressed through college, I noticed that there were a lot of businessmen, a lot of successful businessmen who liked hanging out with the Vanderbilt team. And I thought, well, people tell me I'm going to be good in business. I don't know why, but that's what people are telling me. So I should hang out with these business people. Let me learn what a bank does. Let me learn what an investment banker does. Let me learn what entrepreneurs do. And I realized from hanging out with all these guys that they won at what they did because they were able to effectively find cheat codes that other people weren't trying to find. So as a baseball player, you know that if you're trying to steal second base, you can read the pitcher. You can expect what he's going to do based on his body language. People don't realize this applies to every venture in life. And so if you think you can predict what a pitcher is going to do, you can probably also predict what a scout's going to want to see. You can probably also predict what a coach is going to want to see. And if you understand, if you're smart enough to understand what your audience wants, you're smart enough to get a sales job at Google, which I got after I got done playing. You're smart enough to sell products on the internet to a multi-thousand person audience, which I do now. And so forcing myself to see competitive angles at everything that I've ever done started with me being a NorCal baseball player, but continued many, many years after I got done playing baseball. Because you realize when you get around hyper-competitive people, elite performers in sports or outside of sports, they all see 50 different angles that nobody else sees, right? Talk to Ricky Henderson about base running. I bet that guy picks up 50 things that you've never thought about, right? Talk to an elite businessman, talk to a billionaire. That guy probably sees 50 different things that are happening within his audience, within his customer base, within his competition that you're not going to see going to Harvard Business School. You have to be intensely competitive to pick up every angle that can be taught to other people, but that can't be taught to other people. Because if you're not that competitive, you end up having to have a regular job like everybody else. And that's not that fun because you have to like answer to people that you don't want to answer to. And so the reward for me for being intensely competitive about the type of physical condition I was in, the way I performed on the field, the type of grades I got in the classroom, what I was doing as an entrepreneur, all of that led to more and more doors opening for me as I got older and older in life. And so when I got done playing with the Rockies, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do after baseball because I had poured all of my heart, all of my soul into being an elite athlete. But very fortunately, there were many businessmen who loved the way I competed. They loved seeing me take a 92-mile-an-hour fastball to the face, take 2 steps backwards and run to first, because that's exactly what you have to do in business, right? Even now, even with a business that is doing very well financially, right? I sell products every day, right? Some days I sell a lot of products, some days I don't sell a lot of products. In fact, in August, I had more days where I ran sales and did much worse than I've ever done selling the products that I sell. Most people who don't have a competitive mindset will say, oh man, I tried to sell products, I sold nothing today, or I sold 1 product and you sell 10 a day. Oh man, I'm not gonna is it worth it? Do I even want to do it tomorrow? Or I'm gonna do it tomorrow, but I'm not gonna put in the effort that I want to put in. No, being an athlete, being a baseball player means you can strike out 4 times in a game, but you're still gonna have the game the next day. And that next game is still gonna feed into your batting average. So it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. You need to forget the failure as fast as you possibly can to put yourself in a position to perform as well as you possibly can every game of the season. And if you can't do that, your 0 for 4s turn into 0 for 8s, turn into 0 for 12s. It becomes very, very difficult to hit 300 over the course of the season if you can't rebound from failure. Same thing is true running an online business, right? I had one of my best months ever in August, despite having more bad days than I've ever had in any month in August. If you can't manage the volatility of sports, good luck managing the volatility of life. But if you can manage the volatility of sports, you will find that if you're working in a corporate environment or if you're working amongst entrepreneurs, the mental skills that you've developed to get over failure time and time again leave you in a position to compete and outcompete almost everybody who doesn't have that background. So if you simply learn how to put yourself in a position to compete to the best extent you possibly can, learn what mindset you need to apply to give 100.0 effort and see 30 different angles that other people aren't seeing as far as how you want to attack the specific problem that you're trying to solve, you're going to play life on easy mode. Everything is going to be so much easier for you after you get done playing baseball if you simply learn how to compete through adversity no matter what, and how to tell yourself that I can always do better even if I think I'm doing well. Because that does 2 things. You're always making forward progress. Something bad happens, doesn't matter. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna dust myself off, I'm gonna put the work in necessary tomorrow to be successful. Number 2, I'm always paying attention to the playing field. So I'm always gonna see angles that other people aren't seeing, which means I can cut a corner that they can't cut. And I'm not talking about legal corners, I'm talking about, oh, I can position my product in a way that none of these guys are doing. They can't compete with me if I do this. Number 1 example, I sell recipe books. It's a great recipe book. Rob may have mentioned to you guys, but like the niche of online business that I run right now is I teach people how to get ripped without counting calories. So I was showing earlier, but like I stay like, that's kind of bad lighting, but we'll get you good lighting right here. I stay under 6% calorie body fat every day of every year for the last 7 years, eating pizza, fried chicken, burgers, and tacos almost every meal. I've sold over $100,000 worth of my recipe book online at a 97% profit margin. But earlier this year, I noticed that there were multiple other people who saw what I was doing and started putting out competing recipe books at a lower price point than me. And so I could think, oh, you know, the economy's doing bad, we're in a recession, I got competition, maybe this thing isn't for me. But the competitor in me said, no, you can't take that mentality. You can't take that mentality on the field. What you need to do is figure out how to position yourself uniquely in ways that they can't. And what I noticed was that hey, you know what? All these other people are selling recipes, selling fat loss recipes, but not a single one of them looks like me with their shirt off. So when they zig, I'm going to zag because I know that they can't hang with me. And that same mindset, that same cocky mindset that really, really benefited me as a high school player, as an SEC athlete, and as a professional athlete, still benefits me to this day, 14 years after I played my last competitive game, 13 years after I played my last competitive game. And so if you learn one thing from your playing career, how to compete no matter what, life is going to be on easy mode.
Alex, that was, first of all, that was unbelievable. I've never seen anybody give such great information for that long of a period without even taking a glass of water. That was impressive. A couple things for you. I don't want to say what are some of the tricks that you used on yourself, but what are some of the cuts and the different things that you use to say to yourself, hey, I've got to let this go. I got to shake it off. What are the hacks that you use personally? Everybody's different. Everybody has their own hacks that'll work for them, but what worked for you?
So number one, you got to realize that the truth doesn't matter. And if you guys haven't seen The Last Dance, the ESPN documentary on Michael Jordan, I really recommend watching The Last Dance. Reason being, when I watched Michael Jordan in his prime, I was in like 6th grade. I was too young to really understand the athletic genius of Michael Jordan. I just thought he kind of rolled out, was the best player, kind of whatever, best athlete, worked the hardest, so he was the best. Watching The Last Dance as an ex-professional athlete, seeing the lies that Jordan would tell to himself to put himself in a position to compete it was like watching Mozart, where it's like, this guy is completely delusional, but he understands the stories he needs to tell himself to be the best competitor that he possibly could be, which turned out to be the best competitor who ever lived in his sport. And, you know, as a shortstop, you're going to make mistakes in front of your entire team and in front of the entire stadium all the time. Every game, you're going to have 5, 6, 7 chances to make a mistake that's going to embarrass you, hurt your pitcher, hurt your team. Sometimes you're going to make that mistake. So what I found to be really helpful for me was every time something bad happened, my ego would get inflated, right? So I thought I was better after making a mistake than before making a mistake. It was like this protective skin, this protective layer that I got that made me better. And that can make me a difficult person to deal with off the field, right? But realize that certain personality traits that your parents say, don't do that, don't be like that, don't be so arrogant, don't be so brash. Well, there's a reason why a lot of the top athletes are just like that, because certain things that might annoy other people actually give you protection to perform at your peak when the pressure is on you. A lot of elite performers, they need to be able to ignore crowds, right? So what type of person can ignore a crowd? You know, people who are callous individuals, people who think they're literally better than everybody else, perform better. So yeah, you might not want to teach your 5, 6, 7-year-old kid to just think he's better than everybody else. But if you don't take that mentality onto the field, good luck making a mistake in front of 5,000 people and being able to control your breath, control your heart rate, and get up and have a good at bat your next at bat, or make the play the next play. You have to tell yourself whatever it is you need to tell yourself to put yourself in a position to be successful.
I would love to have everybody ask some questions, because any of the questions are going to pertain to most of the people. I could keep asking. Are there any questions from anybody?
You either unmute yourself and start talking, or throw them in the chat if you guys want.
Here we go.
Thank you for sharing how the behaviors and habits of hyper-competitive people create mindset skills that impact your lifestyle. Please post your book. Okay, I will find that right now. I'm going to post. I just created a ebook. Most of my ebooks I sell for like $50 to $70, but this one I wanted to make accessible to everybody. So it is free for anybody who wants it. There's a donation price on there, but I make plenty from selling my other products. I don't feel obligated to, I think, put like the $8 or something. Fine, just put 0 and get it for free. Let me find this right now. It's called Life Lessons from My Journey to the Pros. And I'll copy this and I'm going to put this in the chat. My guess is download it right now because I think the chat's going to close out when we're done. So everybody click on that, at least open it in another browser, and then we can keep talking and asking questions while everybody's on here.
You, the talk you gave at Texas, a little bit similar, but you also touched on a few different things. And you had the college coaches at Texas absolutely loving that also. And I think that one of the things that you're going to be able to do is talk to college programs, talk to high school programs, and even professional programs, because what you're teaching, they can take with them anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that it may be hard for people to realize, especially 15, 16, 17 years old, is it doesn't matter where you are now. It matters the trajectory that you're on. And so a lazy, talented player is going to get 1% better a year. Like, you'll get better because your body's going to physically mature. But the guy who works hard, if you can just get 1% better every month, think of how good you're going to be in 3 years. All you have to do is get 1% better every month. And I've applied something similar to, my physical training, right? The reason I'm in the shape that I'm in isn't because I had some like crazy year where I just got super shredded and put on a lot of muscle. It was because I took a mindset of, what do I need to do to get 1% better every week? Of course, I wasn't getting 1% better every week because that's a lot, but trying to get 1% better every week got me 1% better every month. And getting 1% better every month times 36 months in a row makes people think you're on steroids, right? Because most people cannot compound 1% gains over 1% gains over 1% gains over 1% gains. And they kind of stay roughly the same, and they stop trying because their effort doesn't lead to the success that they want it to. And so if you just put yourself in a position to get 1% better every week, just look yourself in the mirror. What do I need to do to get 1% better this week? And make that a habit every week for the rest of your life. Nobody's, like 5 or 10 years down the line, nobody's going to be able to compete with you. Got a question from the crowd. How did you mentally prepare yourself pregame, before important events? How did this impact your attitude and mindset on the field? So this might not please a bunch of the parents out there, but I'll be very honest. I needed to put myself in a position to think I was as good of a player as I possibly could think, right? So humility was not anything on my radar, right? It was hard enough for me to play in front of 5, 6, 7,000 people on SEC road trips, right? And if I had any degree of humility in my demeanor, in my outlook, I was going to get eaten alive by the crowd and by the competition. So I had to tell myself a narrative to convince myself that I was the best player on the field, even though I wasn't the best player on the field. I was surrounded by first-round draft picks. I got drafted in the 42nd round, right? 43rd round, maybe. So it's so late in the draft, I don't even remember at this point, but I know that round doesn't exist anymore. But I had to tell myself that I was the best. And the mental gymnastics that I had to perform to convince myself I was the best were, pretty intensive. But it doesn't matter because I knew I played better when I thought I was the best. I knew I played better when I thought nobody can touch me. Doesn't matter. Any mistake that I make doesn't matter. And so any mindset I could have that convinced me that I was a god on the field was the correct mindset for me to have to compete at my best. To go down. Shorthand self-talk, did you say to yourself to rebound as fast? It doesn't matter what happened in the past. All you can do is focus on the next play. Whether the last play went well or poorly, it's in the past. So literally, and this helps me with my business right now, all I can focus on is what I have in front of me. And over this year, I'm having my best year I've ever had running my business. 3 times a month, I come to a juncture where I'm like, man, I really feel like I have my back up against the wall. Is this the month that things start going south? And you'll tell yourself this both as a baseball player and as an entrepreneur. You'll find reasons to doubt yourself. But at the end of the day, the only way you come out of slumps, or the only way you can rebound quickly, is by saying, yeah, all this noise, it doesn't matter. What's the next right thing for me to do? Do that. And you can simplify anxiety like that. So, oh, you have all these things going, it doesn't matter. What do I need to do to get the next thing done? And playing year after year in high stress, high pressure environments taught me to, it's like breathing for me now almost, where it's like chaos, noise, doesn't matter, put it aside. How fast can I forget it and focus on the next thing I need to focus on? It's really like a game. It's really like, you know, I had fast hands, I could turn a double play well. It's the same thing. How fast can you get the ball out of your glove? How fast can you get that last bad play out of your mind? It's the same thing, right? And so just like you get better turning double plays by practicing turning double plays, you get better putting things out of your mind by failing and forcing yourself to forget about it as fast as you possibly can. Same thing with flushing bad plays. Yeah, I played better when I was angry. So that was one thing that I had to my advantage was, you know, cerebral guy. My mind would get in the way of my performance sometimes. And so when I would make a mistake, I got angry. And I knew when I got angry, my throws became more accurate because my mind wasn't going to get in the way. And so, you know, in high school, I had a lot of games where I made 2 errors. Some games I made 3 errors in high school. Once I got to college, in my 4 years at Vanderbilt, where I started all 4 years, I don't know how many games that was, 200 or something like that. And then my 2 years in the minor leagues, where I probably played 100 games between, I didn't play every day, but I played maybe 100 games between those 2 seasons. I never made 2 errors in the same game. Never. Which is crazy, right? But it was my ability to take what happened that was bad, put it aside, and say, doesn't matter. Let's just do it. I'm the best. All right. I have a hitting coach who I truly believe is helping me to get better. We have a really great relationship, and I've been seeing great improvements working with him. High school coaches threatened with me working with somebody else, wants me to swing how he wants, which is almost the, this is a great story. How would I negotiate wanting to get better through my hitting coach while still having a successful high school career? To my earlier point about being arrogant, sometimes in life, arrogant people win. And so I say this firsthand experience. You guys know, playing for Rob, if you get a first pitch thigh high down the middle and you're not swinging at it, that's a problem, right? That's a fastball that you can drive. Coaches are coming to see you play. You swing the bat if you get that first pitch. Well, guess what? My high school coach did not like me swinging at the first pitch. So much so that my senior year, I was leading the team in hitting. I was probably hitting, I don't know, 420, 430 at the time. But there was like a couple game stretch where I might have gone 0 for 4 or 1 for 4, a couple games in a row. So say I'm riding like a 2 for 12 streak in my senior year of high school, and I get runner on first base, like 4th inning, 5th inning, something like that. First pitch fastball, I ground out, 6-4-3 double play. My high school coach, we lose the game. Did we lose the game? Might have won the game. I forget if we won or we lost. Either way, my high school coach holds all the seniors after, which was just me and 2 guys. He didn't want to talk to the other 2 seniors. He wanted to talk to me, but he didn't want to make it seem like he was calling me specifically out. So after our game, me, 2 other guys, he looks directly at me. Feinberg, you swung at the first pitch. You know that you're not supposed to swing at the first pitch. What did I tell him? I told him I didn't get my college scholarship by not swinging at the first pitch, which was true. I got my college scholarship by ignoring my high school coach. You're going to find that in life, that there are authority figures who will hold you back, right? And if you're good enough, their opinion of you doesn't matter, right? So if you don't listen to your high school coach and you hit 400, it doesn't matter. He's wrong because you hit 400. And in life, there are many, many circumstances where you have to choose, do I want to win or do I want to make the authority figure happy? I'll tell you an example after I got done playing baseball. I was finishing up working in finance. I wanted to work in tech. 25 years old, moved back from Asia, staying with my mom for a few months. You know, on the surface of it, I'm 25 years old living with my mom, but obviously, like, it was a temporary situation that I knew. It wasn't like I was in her basement forever. I got a job offer that was going to pay me a $60,000 base, $90,000 on target compensation package in 2011 at 25 years old, but it wasn't at Google. I wanted to work at Google because of all the doors that would be open to me had I worked at Google. So I told these people I need to finish my interview process at Google. This really pissed this company off because they thought, who's this guy? This guy's no work experience in the corporate setting. He's telling us that he wants to finish out with Google. Like, screw this guy. It really also pissed off my parents because the economy wasn't doing that well in 2011. It wasn't like tech companies were hiring left and right. And they think Alex is arrogant. He thinks he's going to get this job at Google, but he's not even like midway through their interview process and he's turning down a $90,000 compensation package. What's he thinking? Well, guess what? If I listened to them and I took that job, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now, right? Ignoring my parents and saying, you know what, doesn't matter what you think. You're wrong, I'm right. Well, what did I do? 3 weeks later, I convinced somebody to invite me into Google. I wore a custom tailored suit that I got in Hong Kong the previous year when I was working. I met a hiring manager and I talked my way into a job exactly as I had envisioned it a month prior when I turned that original job down. Getting that job at Google surrounded me with people smarter than me so I could learn about technology, learn from them, save money every year of my 20s, ultimately be in a strong negotiating position to join a cryptocurrency exchange, which I did for a few years, which led me to creating my online fitness business, in parallel to working at this crypto exchange. So had I been, say, fallen victim to wanting to please authority, number one, I never would have gotten a college scholarship because I would have been busy trying to play the way my high school coach wanted me to play. Number two, even if I got that college scholarship, I never would have gotten my job at Google because I would have been too busy worried about what my parents want from me. At the end of the day, you are the only one who gets the credit and the blame for your success or your failure. So you need to do what's going to put you in the best position possible to succeed. Many people might say you're selfish. Guess what? Successful people have characteristics that unsuccessful people describe to be selfish, but it doesn't matter. You need to do what you need to do to win because you're the only person living your life. And you have to ultimately face the consequences of your actions. So you may as well put yourself in the best position to win. What makes a high school player stand out the most to college scouts or to college scouts like Vanderbilt? So I can tell you what I did. I had the best tournament I've ever had in my life in McAlester, Oklahoma, my junior summer. So seeing a shortstop, I was 11 for 17. My first 4 or 5 games playing against some of the top pitching in the country, just squaring up every ball, right? Like since then, I'd never hit that well for 17 at bats leading up to then. I never hit that well for 17 at bats after then. But I had 17 at bats where everything I was hitting was a laser. And that caught the attention of coaches. So you're not going to catch the attention of coaches unless you have off the charts tools, unless you have off the charts performance. And so you get their attention by having an off the charts performance. You keep their attention by rebounding from failure, because they're not going to just see you for 4 games. If they're going to offer you a college scholarship, they're probably going to see you for 10, 15, 20 games. And so, you got to get their attention at first by being like the best player or one of the best player on the field for a few games. Now, you don't need to be the best player on your team to be the best player on the field for a few games, but you do need to have some good games. And then you need to back it up with character, right? Because they know that you're going to struggle when you go to college. And so if they see you dejected after you make an error, dejected after you strike out, they're not going to like that. And so following me throughout the summer, they liked a few things in me. They liked the fact that I was always hustling on and off the field. They liked that I always looked like I was having fun, because you play a lot of baseball as a college baseball player. So if you don't like baseball, you're going to hate college baseball. So they liked the fact that I liked baseball. And they also liked that I was able to improvise. Talk to Eric Backett. She's now the head coach of Clemson. You ask him, hey, what was your favorite play that you saw Alex Feinberg make in high school? I guarantee to this day, he remembers watching me in area codes, playing third base, throwing the ball across the infield to get the hitter out at first, and then having Lucas Duda drag me off third base because the runner at second was trying to go to third. He dragged me off of third base where I had to reach, into the third base dugout essentially. My back was to the runner coming from second. I just put my glove down in between my legs and tagged the runner without looking at him. And when they saw that, they're just like, this is the guy that we want. Like, you can't teach that. And so it's a combination of playing very well when people are watching you, responding to failure well, showing that you love the game, and doing like things that they don't normally see. All of those things, I think, put me in the position to get the offer that I got. And they really liked my confidence. I was arrogant on my recruiting trip, probably too much so. I wouldn't advise you guys to be as arrogant as I was on my recruiting trip, but my coaches liked it because they like confidence. You gotta have a lot of confidence to succeed in the SEC or the Pac-12 or the Big Ten or the ACC, whatever, Pro Bowl. So they liked that confidence because I wasn't a dick. I was just like really cocky. And I was the only player that they had to that date who ever personally negotiated his scholarship offer. So when I sat down with Coach Corbin and Coach Bakich the Sunday of my recruiting trip, it wasn't my dad who was negotiating my scholarship offer with them. It was me, because I saw we were leaving money on the table and I said, no, don't give me this, give me that. What do you think about this? And they thought about it and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. I didn't find out until years later. They're like, Feinberg, you're the only player who ever did that. Nobody does that. But they like the confidence, right? So combination of physical tools and confidence. Confidence gets you successful in life, in sports, in everything. You need to figure out a way to see yourself being successful, because that precedes the work that you need to do to become successful. And if you just keep hitting this battering ram of effort against the door, eventually the door breaks down. And it may not even be for your dream school, but it'll be for some school. And if you keep hitting that door with the battering ram, more doors open for you in life. Did you have a mentor? Yes. How'd they help you? So I did have a mentor. He actually ended up coaching NorCal for a little bit, Sal Vaccaro. Sal was my mentor. He was our pitching coach in high school, but he also ran a successful business. And he was my mentor for a number of reasons. Like, he was a pro baseball player himself. He played at Santa Clara, but then he was also like really funny. And I didn't even find out until like a couple of years after high school that he was a successful businessman. I didn't really know. We just kind of joked about what he did, but he did very well for himself. And he was the one who taught me that all of the angles that you need to see to be a successful player. Remember when I said earlier that Ricky Henderson can talk about base running in 40 different ways that make no sense to you, but make sense to him? That was how Sal saw the world. And so you'll find that really successful business people, they connect with other people who think like them. People who are very perceptive and they see contradictions in their environment. Hey, how can that be true if that's true? Why are they doing this? If they wanted to accomplish this goal, they wouldn't be doing that. So they're doing that for another reason, a different reason than what they're saying. Like, noticing all these inconsistencies in life was something that I did naturally, but I think it was something that my mentor really cued in on and really encouraged me to develop and build out. And so he was really helpful in convincing me that I wasn't going to be an employee my whole life, that I really needed to be an entrepreneur, that I was going to be successful in the next level, and to never quit, even when things got hard. Because I think having a mentor who really believes in you, you don't want to let that guy down. And so, I say now, like, oh, just do this, just do this, just do that. Every day as a college and professional athlete was like the hardest day of my life, right? Even though I have like mental challenges going through the volatility of being an entrepreneur now, none of my days are as hard as every day that I had as a college athlete, every day that I had as a professional athlete. All that stuff is so hard that everybody wants to quit at one time or another. And so having a mentor who believes in you, who you don't want to let down, helps. It really does help. Did I play other sports in high school? Was it strictly baseball? I actually only played baseball. I wanted to play football. My dad didn't let me play football. In retrospect, maybe that was the right decision, but I think that, because we didn't really know about the CTE stuff at the time, and so I just thought he was being kind of a sissy. But a lot of the best players that I played with played another sport. David Price played basketball in high school. I think he would have been an NBA player if he wanted to only play basketball. Not because he would have been the most talented basketball player, but he was the best at winning of anybody I've ever played with. He was the best golfer on our team. He was the best bowler on our team. He was the best poker player on our team. He was the best video game player on our team. He also happened to be the best baseball player on our team. So there's no doubt in my mind that that dude would have been an NBA player had he wanted to focus only on basketball. Other guys, Ryan Flaherty, ended up playing 8 years in the major leagues. He played both basketball and football in high school. Pedro Alvarez, big leaguer, he only played baseball. I think Mike Minor only played baseball. So it's a combination. Some guys play 2, 3 sports, elite athletes playing 2, 3 sports. A lot of guys only played baseball. The one thing that you want to do is always develop your athleticism, because that's what you can get from sports outside of baseball. It's like you want to get faster, right? I guarantee that if you run a 6.660, you're going to get like 10 more chances than the guy who runs a 7.1. So if that means doing plyometric work, doing sprint training with Aaron Thigpen, do that. If that means going to football practice and being a good football player, being a good running back, being a good quarterback, do that. But whatever you need to do to be the best athlete you can be by the time you're 16, 17, 18 years old, do that. Coaches recruit athleticism plus mental skills, right? If you're a great athlete with a great attitude and an okay baseball player, you're going to get like 50 scholarship offers, right? So there's 3 things: how good of an athlete you are, how good your mindset you have, how good of a baseball player you are. You need to have at least 2, and then student, right? I took that for granted, but you need to be a good student too. So there's 4 things. Of those 4 things, you really need to have 3 of them going for you, or at least 2.5 of those things going for you. Like, of those 4 things, 2 of those things need to be like very, very high. One of them needs to be good, and one of them can be average. And that's sort of how it works. But the more of the things that you can be better at, the better it is for you. Anybody else? This is great. You can keep going if you want, but
This is really good. We are coming up close to an hour. And you did record. As a matter of fact, we've got to send this to Sal. Because Sal will love this, and he's one of my best friends, obviously, and we have that connection and that bond. Quite a guy.
yeah.
Sal, just so people know, when Sal played, tough competitor, left-handed pitcher. If Sal didn't like you, he would hit you in the ribs on purpose, and then he would pick you off. That's the kind of guy he was. That adds some insult to injury.
Yeah.
So, and that's his mentality. That's his attitude in business and everything else.
Yeah. The mindset that's required to be a good baseball player translates to a lot of things in life. And so even if you guys, the high school guys are probably not thinking about what you'll do after baseball yet, you don't have to. If you just worry about learning how to compete, you're always going to be okay.
Let's go one more question if we have anybody. This was unbelievable. Well,
if you guys want, follow me on social media. You guys, my DMs are open. They'll be open probably until I get twice as many followers as I have, which could come in a month, but realistically probably won't. So Alex Feinberg 1, I'm just going to type this. I'm actually just going to link my Twitter if you guys have Twitter. I'm just going to link it right here in the chat. Did you do a lot of showcases? So if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, that's it. That's also my Instagram handle, which I post my meals on. Did you do a lot of showcases? I did all the good ones. I think there's probably a lot more now, but I went to every tournament that NorCal went to. So that meant I went to all the perfect game showcases that Rob had us going to, at least in the summer, some in the winter, but definitely all the ones in the summer. My junior year, I did area codes. I did Team 1, which I don't think exists anymore. We had a NorCal showcase, I think my freshman year. Did the Stanford camp my sophomore year. So yeah, I was probably doing 2, 3 showcases a summer, and by the time I got ranked up to my junior year, like 3 or 4. They were fun, and they were fun because I knew I put in the work. I put in the work on the track to where I was going to run a 6-something 60, and most guys weren't running 6-something 60. So I knew going into every showcase, the 2 things I could control were I was going to run fast and I was going to be able to throw darts across the infield. And that took a lot of pressure off, knowing that even if I don't get hits in the game, even if, I know I have fast hands, so, I know I can field ground balls in practice really well. So I knew I was going to be able to show off. And that's what made the fun of the showcases balance out the stress and the anxiety of performing in front of all those people.
Well, you earned it because of all the preparation. When you prepare like that, you should have the confidence and you should feel like hey, I've earned this. This is mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, that's something for another talk, certainly. But, the mindset that you take to prepare is very different than the mindset you need to take to compete. The preparation mindset that's optimal is to be overly harsh on yourself, to convince yourself that you're not as good as you really are. So you put the work in that you need to put in. But when you're on the field, the reverse is true. You need to convince yourself that you're better than you really are in order to play at your best. So over prepare and then be overconfident from your over preparation. College camps, I don't know if things have changed. I suspect they haven't changed much since then. College camps are for paying volunteer assistant coaches and the head coach. So I'll tell you a story about going to the Stanford camp. I was really happy that I got that special invitation to go to the Stanford camp my sophomore year. I went there, I played well, I don't know, hit like 300 or something. So I didn't hit great, but I hit fine. We ran 60s on AstroTurf barefoot, so it wasn't like a legit 60, but I ran a 6.6 when I was there. Probably, fairly would have been a 6.8, 6.9 if I had to like wear shoes running on grass, but they timed me at 6.6. Coach Marcos, who's the coach at the time at Stanford, comes to my house in Orinda the next summer. And he'd been watching me my entire junior summer. Oh, we saw you at Perfect Game. We saw you at this. We saw you at that. Great. And then I mentioned the camp that I went to, his camp the year before. He had no idea that I was at his camp the year before and that my parents paid him like $800 or something. Probably twice, 3 times that at this point. Legitimately. He's recruiting me at my house. He has no idea that my parents sent me to his camp the year before. So my guess is that's not uncommon, right? Maybe that's a more extreme example, but that's a very true story. So, if you are going to go to a college camp, I would think, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, it's best to do it your junior summer, not your sophomore summer, and maybe only for like your dream schools. Because
I would say the top couple. Sophomore would be a fine at this point. Everything's moved up a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. That's changed. Yeah.
But what I would tell you is qualify it by making sure the right people are going to be there and making sure somebody like me calls and says, this guy's going to be there. You need to watch him.
Yeah. Cool.
I think we did great. Alex, awesome. This was outstanding. I'm looking forward to seeing this whole video as well. Thank you very much. This was better than I thought it was going to be. So, and I had high expectations. So
that's awesome. I'll put this up on YouTube. I'll share the link with you, Rob, and then I'll go through and timestamp everything if you want to send it out to various folks. So this is great.
Fantastic. Thanks again. Thanks everybody. And we will talk soon. Alex, thank you.
You bet, Rob. Anytime.
All right.